Welcome to another news blast on the political napalm. Let's get right to it. So, free speech absolutionist Elon Musk has complied with Turkey's request of Twitter to go ahead and censor certain Twitter accounts ahead of a very, very large election going on in Turkey right now. One that Erdogan is involved with. You might remember that name as the Turkish dictator that Trump so happily sided with when his disease-infested reign was happening and decided to abandon our allies, the Kurds, and let Turkey just come in and steamroll them. Yes, that Erdogan. So what's going on is there's an election going on right now in Turkey, and accounts that were tied to the opposition of Erdogan and whistleblower accounts against him have been censored in the lead up to the election. Now, this does not sound like free speech at all. Elon is claiming that he has to do it because he has to comply with the law in Turkey, and that his choice was be throttled or potentially nobody in Turkey has access to the app or take down the accounts. Elon decided to go ahead and take down the accounts, which is really, 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 really scary considering we have not had an election cycle in the United States for a president that featured Elon Musk in charge of Twitter. In all honesty, there is no world in which social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Locals, Rumble, True Social, they should not be the end-all be-all of social commentary, election commentary. They should maybe at best be a whistle stop, but it should not be the only car on the only subway line or the only train line whatsoever. It should maybe be part of a larger whole, but we did countless elections, at least here in the United States, before Twitter ever existed. And we have this ongoing fight of Elon Musk really shading towards the right wing and what he's doing with Twitter, and supposedly Zucker over on Facebook with the Zuckerbucks being meddling in U.S. elections, yet we forget that Trump invited Zuckerberg to dinner and dine with this dude. The political landscape on social media is just knuckin' and it will continue to be so for an exceptionally long period of time. When Tabibi decided to do the Twitter file release, we discovered that Biden's campaign did not really attempt to gloss over the Hunter Biden issue that was happening prior to that election. It was more strictly about taking down the pornographic elements of the story because it falls under Twitter's own rules of essentially revenge porn. This was the only thing that was ever censored in the lead up to the 2020 election. In comparison, you do have the catch and release that happened with the Stormy Daniels issue with Trump leading into the 2016 election. And the Twitter files did actually prove that Trump's group in the White House did seek to have censorship on Twitter of people who were name-calling Trump. So the Twitter files released, it showed that there was meddling, but one of them was within the meddling of the rules of Twitter, whereas the meddling on the Trump side was simply, I don't like this person saying mean things about me. I don't really like our chances of 2024 being particularly clean when you have Elon, although, supposedly he's changed it over to this lady recently. I don't really know how Twitter is going to be as we approach the 2024 presidential election. It is a little bit horrifying. However, so Elon is saying, what was I supposed to do? If I go ahead and don't do the censorship, then it's going to be throttled or potentially removed from Turkey. But if I do the censorship, then it can continue to exist there. I'm just following the law. That's what I said I would do. I would never let it go beyond the law. I will follow the law. In all honesty, what Musk should have done is called out the request for the censorship and said, no. What rule is being broken over here? What one of Twitter's rules are actually being abused or broken in this circumstance? And if you can prove they are, then I'll do the censorship. If you can't prove that they are, well, then your ass is now called out publicly, and there you go. But you know what? Elon Musk sides with the autocratic, the right wing, the totalitarian efforts that we see when these people get into power. And there is no surprise that Trump got along with the Drojan and Duarte when he was the president. And these were people he spoke highly of, Kim Jong-un. And then you have people like the Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau. You've got Merkel. You've got just in any of the European meetings that he had, you have people basically laughing at him. It sort of reminds me of that Family Guy episode where he's doing Pretoria and he's getting along with like all the dictators. It's life imitating art over there. So that's what's going on with Twitter and Turkey. Moving on from there, we had a rally in Iowa for Trump that got canceled for quote-unquote imminent bad weather. The weather was not bad by any stretch. There was a tornado watch, and coincidentally enough, Ron DeSantis was having a rally in a somewhat nearby area, and his was not canceled. Trump's rally had extremely low participation. It was only about 300 people. But funnily enough, the dude who, if Trump stopped short, completely disappears. Lindell went to it and was there and got interviewed and did his typical routine of sometime in the future, I will move the goalposts again and things will happen. Let's hear from our dude, Cracky Lindell, about when the big election crime evidence is going to happen.
About what you talked about, the crime, and when can we expect that?
Okay, this is real important. That you can go to electioncrimebureau.com. The Election Crime Bureau I formed about a month and a half ago now, and within 2 weeks, that's why I say we're getting together now.
Let's talk real quickly about
anybody who spends the most tiniest of nanocalories listening to this man at this point in time needs to see if you can see light out their right ear by looking through their left ear. This is beyond parody at this point that anybody should be listening to. That gif is good. Oh, that Total Recall gif is great. It's true. Oh, it's great. Anybody who thinks this guy doesn't speak out of his ass it's just beyond parody at this point. He said this all throughout 2021, where he was going to have the cyber crackposium and everything, and Trump was going to be back in April, then he was going to be back in May, and it was going to be, I think it maybe skipped to September, then he was going to be back around Thanksgiving, definitely by the end of the year. He had the supposed SCOTUS case where SCOTUS was going to rule 9-0 because it was going to be so obvious and SCOTUS would reinstate Trump. Let me tell you how big of an idiot anybody could be to have believed a moment of that. There is one lie in there that is definitely provable to be false from point A to point B. The SCOTUS case thing. SCOTUS's docket was public. This is what people like Lindell and these election conspiracy theorists, these rightoids, these election deniers, it's what they all do. They expect you not to use critical thinking and not to fact check them. They just want to be able to mother bird up the gruel, puke it into your mouth, and you're supposed to sit there in the nest screaming with your mouth open until mom comes back. Happy Mother's Day, by the way, everybody. We'll get into that in just a little bit. You just sit there in the nest and wait until the next meal comes in and it's puked down your gullet. This is what Lindell is doing. Because SCOTUS's docket, their calendar, was publicly available. You can search how full or not full their docket is. You would see that in 2021, there was no room for Lindell to sneak a case in there. Plus, they are an appellate court. You get your cases escalated to the SCOTUS. They had no cases in the system to escalate to SCOTUS. It was not on their calendar. There was nothing in the works whatsoever for Lindell. He was lying through his teeth, and if you didn't fact check him, that's your own fault. And every single month, the goalposts moved. Trump was not back in power. There was no release of evidence. The Crackposium was a complete nothing burger. That neutral, nonpartisan packet analyst, network analyst went to that thing, stuck their hands up in the air and said, this is complete crap. There is nothing here. He has a list of IP addresses that don't mean anything. This is a nothing burger. And then when it began to go off the rails, who is believed to be Q, one of the Watkins, Q was calling in, got served with a cease and desist on stream. He had technical issues. When all that was happening and it was going off the rails, Lindell faked being accosted by a quote-unquote fan that wasn't really a fan. He pretended to be a fan, and he jabbed something hard into his ribs or his kidney, and then he went up to the room in pain. Did you know that Lindell claimed to have filed a police report, and the police in that town said Lindell never ever filed a police report? They had to go seek him out to find out if something happened. I honestly hope we will see a law at one point that if you're publicly claiming you filed a police report, then you get in trouble for filing a false police report by claiming you filed one when you didn't. Because I think this was ludicrous that he was able to get away with that, tell his fan base that he was being accosted by somebody who claimed to be a fan, and he basically limped his way up an elevator to his room. His own friends, people basically on his side of the playing field, said no, he was not accosted, he was not assaulted. We watched him go up a glass elevator. He was fine. There was an enthusiastic fan who put his arm around his shoulder. That was it. He was not assaulted. So Lindell lies like the day is long. And the sooner you realize that, the more you'll get out of the cult. Moving on, James Comer was grilled on Fox of all things and said, the Hunter Biden evidence and the informant, we can't track him down. You know what this reminds me of when I first read this? That they lost the supposed whistleblower over here. And he said this to Maria Bartanamo Bay over here. We lost the informant. You lost him because there never was one. Your whole routine to tie Hunter to Joe to peddling influence for the vice presidential power, which again, why aren't you going for the president? Why are you going for the VP? This whole quid pro quo with pay scheme is falling apart. And I mean, it is completely fallen apart at this point, but it has fallen apart for the majority of about a week and a half now. First, they stood up and said, the the Rudy thing of basically we have a lot of theories, but we don't have a lot of evidence. And now that they're saying the whistleblower is in the wind, what it reminded me of, do you remember that movie, Red Storm Rising? Sam Neill and Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin. It was a great late 80s, early 90s. I think it was late 80s. It's a Tom Clancy movie. It was based on, sorry, not Red Storm Rising, Hunt for Red October. Hunt for Red October and Red Storm Rising were games. They were books. Red Storm Rising was an excellent sub-game on the Commodore 64. Hunt for Red October was the movie. Towards the end of Hunt for Red October, the Russian ambassador is talking to a American member of Congress and says, we need a little bit more help. We've lost another sub. Can you help us find him? So the whole movie is they ask for their help to find Red October. Well, I don't want to spoil the plot because it is an excellent movie. You should go see it. They are asked to go find Red October. Hilarity ensues. And then near the end of the movie, a Russian sub goes missing. There's a cover-up. And I believe the guy's name is Ivan. Well, I don't remember if his name is Ivan or not. But he basically tells the American, rather sheepishly, we need your help. We have lost another sub. And that's what this reminds me of. I can imagine Comer just basically saying, we lost the informant. In that exact same way, that exact same sheepish, like, we're sorry, craziness happened again. Anyway, this whole thing is completely had a meteor dropped on it. There is no proof whatsoever that Biden peddled influence when he was a vice president for pay. There has definitely been some shenanigans that went on with Hunter. However, they all seem to be largely above ground, not under the table. And even the ones that do seem very under the table do not have any ties to Joe Biden whatsoever. So this whole thing has fallen apart. It's a scam. It's a sham. And any impeachment that the House tries to do on the back of this will be laughed into the sewer, especially once it hits by the Senate. And they know exactly what happened to Trump when the House impeached him and then the Senate didn't. They just know it's going to go the exact same way for Biden, so why even try? Moving on, speaking of Mother's Day, we will dip over to this real quick and then get to one final story. We have two different presidential / ex-presidential tweets today about Mother's Day. Biden has tweeted, "Today I joined families across America celebrating the moms and the women filling the role of a mother in our lives." I actually really do like that extra little piece over there. The women filling in the role of a mother in our lives. You have people who've been raised by aunts and grandparents, surrogate mothers, family friends who basically are a mother. This extra little tail to this is, I think, very great. It's very inclusive. Our mothers and grandmothers believe in us, sacrifice for us, and lift us up. They are the people in our lives who've given us the most. Happy Mother's Day. As somebody who lost a mother within the last few months, this is the first Mother's Day that do not have anybody to call on Mother's Day or send a card to. I lost my grandmother over a decade ago. I lost my mother just recently. So this is the first Mother's Day that I'm dealing with this, and it is definitely at times it sort of takes the words away a little bit. It creates a bit of speechlessness to try and explain what that feels like. It definitely does not feel good by any stretch. Meanwhile, former President Trump over on Troph Central over here, this is his Mother's Day wish. Happy Mother's Day to all, in particular the mothers, wives, and lovers of the radical left, fascist, Marxist, and communists who are doing everything within their power to destroy and obliterate our once great country with a capital C. None of these capitals should be there. This capital C should not be there, of course. Please make these complete lunatics and maniacs more random capitals, kinder, gentler, softer, and most importantly, smarter, so that we can quickly make them. I mean, he does this every time. Every single goddamn fucking time that there is a tweet like this that is in his head, there has to be a shot to it. Compare the tail over here. The body is Happy Mother's Day. The tail is filling the role of mothers in our lives. If you cannot be directly called a mom, I'm going to include you. The tail over here is the own the libs. This man does things daily, on the minute, on the hour, at the very least, that shows he should have never been in politics and he should have never been taken seriously. And if there is a tweet that encapsulates that more than this, they're out there. I know they are. But this is a perfect little pill with laser drilled holes like Tylenol for easy digestion of why this man should never ever be within 17 miles of a political office again. This is ridiculous. And you know, if he was president right now, the same tweet would come out. This isn't the tweet of a person who is simply just an average Joe person who has a social media account. Okay? This is the tweet of a person who is in the political sphere. Somebody who should have been held to a far greater decorum than the average citizen. And this is the tweet he produces. Whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, you have got to admit this is completely batshit bonkers. And if you don't, I truly don't know what to say. I don't like to push what's in my head on other people, but how you can support this as a person to believe in is beyond me. If you want to sit there and say, well, I like when he does this, I like when he does that, but I hate when he opens his mouth, that's fine. Put that down in the comments. But the thing is, most people that I've run into are generally 100% lock, stock, and barrel for Trump, or they're against him. The middle ground is not really particularly good when it comes to him. Speaking of Trump Towers down in Florida, southern Florida, were raided by the FBI. The reason why they were being raided down there is because a squad of FBI special agents assisted by local police descended on Trump Tower 3 at Collins Avenue to search Unit 4102. It was owned by a shell company, MIC-USA LLC, that is controlled by two Russian businessmen, Oleg Sergeyevich Petsulia and Agunda Konstantinovna Makeva, according to the state corporation records. I should have actually practiced that before I did this video. I apologize, but Oleg and Agunda. On Friday, a spokesman for the FBI's Miami field office said it was conducting court-ordered law enforcement activity in the vicinity of that location, but provided no other information. The area has a historical record of being called Little Moscow. Sunny Isles Beach has been dubbed Little Moscow by the locals because it's home to many Russian expatriates. Some of them have had concerns about backlash against their affluent beachfront community after the Russian military invaded Ukraine last year and the United States government started pursuing, and of course other countries across the globe, started pursuing sanctions against oligarchs who hide their wealth in the real estate of South Florida and other parts of the country. The shell company reportedly bought the 3-bedroom, 3-bath unit of residence in Trump Tower for $1.65 million 10 years ago. So it has been there for a while. However, one of Trump's locations essentially been harboring Russian oligarchs that people want to go after, similar to when a European country went and seized a yacht by Russian oligarchs. This is crazy. I mean, it is crazy that you have basically Sharpiegate 2.0, Trump saying, but a tornado is going to come. I'm going to cancel it. When really it's the low attendance, and I can't wait to see a weather map of Trump just drawing a path of a mythical tornado that didn't exist and showing it go right over the rally. He can't even say Happy Mother's Day to Melania and call her out. Happy Mother's Day to Ivana in the ground before the NDA expired, and she gets to talk about her abuse. This is, we live in crazy times, and this news blast continues to show it, between the censorship of the Turkish accounts in favor of a totalitarian government, Trump losing his mind in the Mother's Day post, Republicans saying, we lost another sub. Can you help? By the way, absolutely go see Hunt for Red October. If it's been more than 5 years since you've watched Hunt for Red October, go watch it again. Really just phenomenal movie. Sam Neill was great. I would have loved to have seen Montana. Sean Connery, of course, was great in it. Sweaty Alec Baldwin at the end of the movie was fantastic. Really, really great movie from my childhood over there. And to all the mothers out there, Happy Mother's Day. I hope it is better for you than myself, not having somebody to wish a Happy Mother's Day to. To everybody, take care. Be good to yourselves today, tomorrow, in the future. And see you guys in the next